Hi, Tyler. Welcome to Revitalize Womanhood.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're adorable. I could just squish you. I could just
I'm
squish
excited to
you.
be here. I'm really excited to be here because I love the show so much and it's so fun to listen to. I do it when I'm on the treadmill and it's the best.
Because it motivates you to run faster and harder and be better.
Okay, I'm not running. I'm walking on a slight incline. But yes, it motivates me to get it done.
Walking on a slight incline. That's so me. Okay, so everybody, welcome my niece, Tyler Benderr. She is my niece. She is my sweet little tie-ties. And she is, what do you even call yourself? TikTok famous? Are you a
I don't
star?
know. Oh gosh. I don't know. I think most people refer to themselves as like content creators in my space. So that's probably what it is.
But that could be
Yeah.
anybody who has like 10 views versus someone who has thousands. I'm a content creator.
Okay, that's true.
Yes.
That's true. That's
A,
true.
a
Yeah.
well-known content creator? No, but I am one.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Whatever you want to call it, that's what I am. I make TikToks, I make Instagram Reels. I just like making videos. It's really fun for me.
So tell us a little bit about how you got started on that.
Yeah, well, I did acting my whole entire life, and that was just always what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an actor, I wanted to be a performer. And then, reality hit, and I went into marketing. And I kind of missed acting and wanted an outlet, so I started doing TikToks for fun. Like I would be in like a community theater show while I was working at my marketing job and make TikToks about that. Or I would just be like getting ready and make a TikTok about getting ready. And then some of them would go viral, so I got kind of addicted to it. And then also I was able to climb really fast in my marketing job because I knew how to do TikTok before anybody else. So I kind of just became a subject matter expert. And then the TikToks really just snowballed. And so last month I quit my job to do TikTok full time. And now that's what I do.
Yeah, are you loving it?
Yes, it's so cool to have your whole day free to do whatever you want and be the boss of your time. It's also kind of stressful to be the boss of your own time, but it's definitely a learning curve. And I think we're almost there. I think I'm so close to figuring it
Yeah.
out.
You're so close to
Yeah.
figuring out life, like the secret to life.
Figuring out how to manage my day just in one day at a time. Life, no, figuring out an 8 hour day, close.
Everybody listening's like, geez, Gina, you're such a jerk. Well, she's my niece. I'm allowed to tease her. I'm
She can
allowed to tease
say,
her. I'm allowed to tease her hard. Because if I don't prepare her for the world, no one else is going to.
who will? Who will?
Who
I mean,
will?
my mom will.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You will. If you don't, yeah, if you haven't met the Almond Mom yet, that's my sister Sarah, my big sister. She likes to tell everyone that she's my younger sister because she looks younger than me. But that we're still out
Oh
on
my
the
gosh.
jury on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to do an Instagram poll.
That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome. Well, okay, so here's what I wanted to have you on because in my community, the Revitalized Womanhood, and in my personal private community, the Revitalized Sisterhood, we have women that ages range from 20 clear up to 76. So the whole concept is finding this group of women and our like-mindedness, and like-mindedness not being that of obviously seasons of life, because a 20-year-old, a 76-year-old, completely different, right? Not just being that we have the same politics, not just being that we have the same religious views, okay? Because that's the women that you are constantly around anyway. You naturally surround yourself with people that are that way anyway, right? But in this community, it's more like-mindedness in a journey of personal growth and development, right? And like being very intentional with the life that we're living because we only have one, right? You only have one life. And so for me, having you here, let me see, are you my youngest guest so far? I think you are. I think you're my youngest guest, and I think you are possibly, so the view I want from you is not necessarily listeners. I'm not picking on Tyler, my niece Tyler, kind
Gotcha.
of. I'm going to ask her some hard questions. But as a whole, as women her age, as the next to come up through the ranks, if you will, a woman out in the world at her age, right? Because it's been, 20 years since I was there? A lot has
Yeah.
changed. Lots has changed
Yeah.
and lots hasn't, right? So, and also, she just got engaged. Da, 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 da.
There's the kicker.
Oh, there's the kicker. And so are you 22 yet? What are you?
I'm 21. I just turned 21.
Right.
So
So
Utah.
I married my first husband at 21, was divorced by 22. So this is a perfectly
I've heard this
timed
story all too many
interview.
times.
And from
Yeah, I'm
everybody's
actually really
perspective.
excited I'm really excited to see what you have to say about this, because even like a year ago when I told you, I was like, oh, I'm thinking of like marrying my boyfriend. You're like, don't do it.
Why? Why would you
But I
marry? That's
did
my
it
first
anyway.
question. Why? Why? Okay, so let's start with, you
Okay.
have some of your TikToks are satirical comedy sketches on making fun of the Utah woman, the Utah 19-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Because in our culture here, which it's all too true, and it's not just Utah, obviously there are other religions where this is a thing, and women get out of high
Yeah.
school just to jump right into the institution of marriage, right? So where you have had such an eye on this, and to the point where you're making satire for it, do you feel you are now part of the statistic?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at it from numbers, that I think the median age of marriage in Utah is 24 for women and 26 for men, which is way, way, way lower than national averages. I mean, I have girlfriends in New York who are 35 and want to scream that I'm getting married. They're terrified for me. So, do I think I'm a part of the statistic? If you're looking at numbers and data sets, yes. But I was always the girl that was like, I'm not getting married. I'm not going to be a Utah girl. I'm not going to do that. And then I totally did it. So, well, to me, hopefully it's different, because I am going into it with a lot of like tact and thought, versus I don't want to say all Utah girls aren't, but I do want to say that's the stereotype. So that's why I think I'm hopefully different than the stereotype.
Because she's got a mother and an aunt that sits and tells her all about the things that she should not be doing.
Yeah.
You nailed it. You actually nailed it. So I'm not picking on you by saying that. I wanted to know if you're going at it into this with more of an open mind and more of eyes wide open, rather than just blissfully in love and, oh, we're going to be so happy.
I think that's a great question. I think that's such a good question, because I know a girl who also got engaged at the same time as me, but listening to her talk about her life experiences that she's had so far, her expectations for her marriage, why she's getting married, even just listening to her plan the wedding, I'm like, you are not ready to get married. And it makes me nervous, but I feel like, and maybe this is gonna not age well a year from now, but I feel like I at least have had a lot of time talking to other people and getting their perspectives. This is a man that I've lived with in like the most shithole apartment with, who I know his family and he knows my family, who I've also had the friends and family to give me like some foresight about like, this is what you're signing up for. So I do think I'm hopefully more prepared than a lot of the girls my age who are just rushing into it immediately.
So I had my leader called this morning for the women that are the squad leaders in my community this morning, and I actually asked them to help me come up with questions for you, and more, not even necessarily even questions, but concepts, perspectives of what was it back when and so I had the 76-year-old there. I had another 45-year-old, and me, I'm 40, what am I, 41. And then Amy, I think Amy's younger than me. I think she is in her 30s. So, but she got married very young and was from purity culture as well and had lots of kids and whatever. So we had all different perspectives, right? And so I said,
Wow.
okay, ladies, what is it that we would hope for this next wave of women coming into the ranks of marriage, motherhood, right? Self-discovery,
Yeah.
right? What is it that we would hope for them? What knowledge can we pass down? Because for me, I was getting my veil put on by my mother, and she's saying, Gina, just go run to the van. Just go take the van. The keys are in the car, just go,
Oh.
right? And I'm like, Evelyn, leave me be, right? There's nothing she could have said that would have changed what was happening because I was going into it with this. I thought I was so smart. I thought I was so independent. I thought I knew exactly what I was getting into, right? Here we are 1 year
Right.
later.
And I hope that's not me.
Yeah, no, I see the differences. But what I'm saying is 1 year later, at least I was like, oh, mama, this is not what I was expecting. We did not come into this prepared. We did not have the right conversations. We did not, right? Which I know you guys are having
Yeah.
conversations about these things. You're more involved in it. So I asked them, and okay, first things first, common umbrella of be the best at communicating, right? That is obviously the
Yeah.
number one. You have to be able to communicate. You have to feel safe to say to this person, I don't like what's happening right now, or I would like for this to happen right now, and know that this is a safe place for you to fall and say these things without them saying, oh, you're telling me I'm wrong. Oh, you're telling me I'm doing something bad. Oh, you're right, without getting defensive. So I think the key to, we're not going to say the perfect marriage because that's no such thing, that's baloney, but the key to a good relationship is communication, right? So, do
Right.
you feel like this is a person that you could lose everything, be in the ashes, rise from it, be the same at the top of your game as you are at the bottom of your game, right? Obviously, you guys haven't really, you haven't had to stretch those muscles yet, but do you feel like this is that kind of person that you could communicate with through these situations?
Yeah, when I first started dating my fiance, one of the most important things to me is like not the absence of messing up. It's that if I feel like there's an issue, it's more about how you respond to it. And he has this really great quality where he is really able to take criticism so well, like better than I have ever done it in my life. Um, and like actually take steps to improve that. So to me, that's one of the most important things you can ask for because you can really deal with any issue and come out of it the other end if you're willing to improve and willing to take that constructive criticism. Because I have way too many friends who tell me the stories of like, oh, I told my boyfriend he wasn't. I told my boyfriend I was mad at him because he forgot my birthday, so he screamed at me and blocked me on everything. And then 2 days later, we made up and da 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 da. Like that's crazy to me. I have way too many friends who have that story of like, oh, I got mad at him that he was texting other girls, so he instead of fixing it, he full on cheated on me. Like you see so much stuff like that that I was kind of already really, really, really cautious about that. So yeah, communication is important, especially responses to communication and criticism.
Well, that's maturity right there. I mean, you just nailed it. Like every single person that just heard what you just described as a type of relationship, which is, we know, all over the place. We were actually having this conversation. So, myself and my husband and our two good friends, they're here from Minnesota with us in Alaska. And so we were sitting around the table last night, I mean, we were getting into the nitty gritty of marriage and personality types and pointing fingers at this is what you do, this is what you do, and this is why I do like it, and this is why I don't like, I mean, we were heated. Our poor kids were probably like, what is happening? I think Castle asked me, he's like, Mom, are you mad at Dad? And I'm like, no, why? And he says, are you getting a divorce? And I'm like, no. So apparently it got like pretty intense, but we were just communicating, right? But
Wow.
coming out of it, the maturity of being able to take what someone else is saying and not use it as a weapon, like you're saying, well, I'm going to take that and I'll show you, or I'm going to take
Right.
that and fine, if you don't think I'm good enough, I'll show you these girls that do think I'm good enough, and
Yeah.
like, that's just maturity. That's 100%. If that's, ladies, if that's the situation you're in, run.
Get out. Get
Get
out.
out. New guy. There's a bazillion of them out there. Move on. So,
Move
okay,
on.
well, good. Well, here's the next question. Are you ever afraid, or has there ever been an instance where you work, because you have been kind of navigating, right? And you are like, I'm not saying your children in the way that you're young. I'm saying your children in the way of this new relationship, right? So you're navigating. It's
Yeah.
like when kids push boundaries, right? They need to know how far
Yeah.
they can go with. So has there been situations where you have felt afraid to bring something up? So let me give you an example. Because when Rick and I first got married, I was $20,000 in debt. He did not know
Oh,
this.
jeez.
So because of me and my family of origin, and I'm an independent person, and I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, that's none of your business. We don't talk about money. That's rude. It's my drama. I'm dealing with it. I work. I'm paying the bills, right? It's none of your business. However, now being a wise old woman, obviously that's his drama. He's marrying a woman who has $20,000 in debt. That is now his debt. Obviously that's his drama. But we did not communicate with it. And if I am honest with myself, I didn't tell him because I was scared he'd run the other way, right?
Right.
So obviously maybe you don't have something as like, ugh, but has there been instances where you've been like, okay, I don't really want to have this conversation, but I need to?
Oh gosh. Actually, that reminds me of so we both graduated college, and then we were like, Mitchell got a job offer here in Denver, and it was like, we just were like, I guess I'm gonna go with you because my job I was working remote for my job, so I was like, okay, I'm the mobile one here, so we can either go long distance for 2 years and see how it works, or we can move in together. And we had like 2 months to make the decision, and I felt so much pressure on me because of the culture I grew up in. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for everybody to think I'm a whore for moving in with my boyfriend, because that's really the Utah culture. I was terrified. So it was really awkward for me to, because I was so stressed out about moving, because I definitely knew that I wanted to. It was really awkward for me to try and like vocalize why I felt so uncomfortable about moving. So there were weeks where it was a push and pull of me just being a massive bitch to him, because I was so nervous to say like, well, I feel like if we move in together, everybody's gonna say the most nasty things about me and think the most nasty things about me. So that's why I'm putting so much pressure on this move to be perfect, and I'm being so uptight with you. But I mean, eventually I just told him where I was coming from, and it felt so good to get that out. But that was like really, really uncomfortable to tell him, because that's so much of my personal like religious baggage. That's just like so much of my own baggage to put onto him that I felt uncomfortable to say anything. But like, I'm so glad I did, because that was a really intense couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely. And if nothing else, if I have one thing that I hope you and Lulu and Macy, all you girls learn from me, learn from the world, but learn from me, is who cares what anyone else thinks? This is your destiny. This is your life. This is your journey, right? You have got to make decisions that are going to, you listen to your intuition, because I think so many of us don't. I think not even just society, but because we have such things like instant access to internet, instant access to social media, we have all of these different ways to entertain ourselves, placate our minds, so that we don't actually listen to our inner selves, like that voice, which is intuition, which is something that used to be a survival, like instinct.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there might be a bear around that corner. I'm not going to go that way, right? But right now,
Right.
it's you're getting it blocked down and smothered and smushed down by, like you're saying, I didn't want people to think I'm a whore because I'm moving in with my boyfriend. Whereas any other culture around, like, it's like, really? That's the
Yeah.
smart thing to do. Like actually testing
Yeah.
out if you're right for this person before you commit to marriage. That's, for me, it's
Right.
insane. It's so backwards because we spend more time researching what phone we're going to get than the time we commit to learning about how to communicate with this other person, or finding out if this is really someone that we could actually live with, or what are the expectations you have of me? Oh, I don't know, cook and clean and make babies. Oh, well, I want to work. Well, I don't want you to. Oh, well, crap. Now do we have to get divorced?
You know, I
Like,
was, I was thinking like, do we go get married before we leave? Like, do we go get married like next week? Like, do we just go to a courthouse and do it so nobody hates us, so our family is like happy with us, so everybody's proud? I was like spiraling, like, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? But I am so glad I didn't, because I was so not ready to deal with everything that comes with marriage on top of moving to a new state. I'm so glad that we had like several months to sit here and like really figure out who we are, how we work together, how we live together, because now I can feel really confident in my decision versus if I would have done it just because like, oh shit, we're moving in together and I don't want everybody to think I'm literally the scarlet letter on my chest, then that would be really awkward. So I'm also really glad that I have my mom who is like, F what everybody else thinks. I would way rather have you move back home in 6 months and have a
yeah.
breakup than pay for $10,000 on a wedding and also have to pay for a divorce.
Yeah.
So that was some good foresight from Sarah.
Well, and going through a situation like that, that is the number one, I think that is the most important decision you can make, period, is marrying someone. And now it kind of feels like it's wishy-washy. It's like, well, we could just get a divorce, right? It's like,
Oh my gosh.
no, you made a commitment to this person till death do us part, or we know eternity, whatever. Why is that something that is like, or until I get sick of you acting this way, or until I get sick of you, it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
You made a commitment through, sickness and health. That doesn't mean every day is happy and we're going to travel and you're going to do everything I say and we're going to have the most magical time. Oh, guess what? No. Once this person watches a baby come out of you, nothing is the same, right? I mean, that's just one of the little hiccups. That's just one of the little roadblocks that you get to jump over or get through. It's life, right? You've made this commitment for life. But I feel like, especially with, I think it started with my generation. I think it started here. I think people like grandma and grandpa, like my mom and dad's age, it was like, oh no, you did not get divorced. That was just, you didn't do it, right? And with mine, I think it started becoming more like, yeah, we want to be, we're just living to be happy. Okay, and now your generation, I think it is like, then don't even make the commitment yet. Okay, if you are looking to just be happy for yourself, or you're looking for I'll be happy when, go do that before you drag someone else into it, and God forbid kids into it as well, right?
Right. I mean, it's such a weird perspective that I've been able to get, because I have so many friends from the East Coast that are like living with their boyfriends who are just shocked that I'm getting married, that are like actually cringing so hard. And then I have my friends who are still in Utah and going to BYU and got married in their second semester and are 19 years old and knew the guy for 6 weeks. And I'm like, and all they have to say about him is that he's nice and cute. And you're like, oh no. So it's really, really interesting to see both sides of the spectrum and how they view marriage. And I just have to sit here and wonder, like, whose marriage is going to last longer?
Well, and that brings you to, I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong, because you have some very successful marriages that they were high school sweethearts, right? But then you also, I think so it comes back to, are you willing to communicate and be able to hear the worst parts of you, have a mirror held up in front of your face and say, wow, thank you for bringing that to me, not I hate you for bringing that to me. No, be able to say, thank you for trusting that I'm a safe place for you to bring that to, and I will try to do better. And having someone that reciprocates that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you can do that, you can do just about anything or get through just about anything for sure.
Exactly. I think I made the statement the other day. I said, because Rick and I have been, oh my gosh, since we started this 1 year ago, since I started this 1 year ago. So this is my 1 year anniversary. July is my 1 year anniversary of Revitalized Womanhood.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. I know I've kind of like haven't even been, my friends are like, let's do some giveaways. Let's shout it out. And I'm like, I have some kind of a block that's not allowing me to do it for some reason. I'm just like, whatever, I'm processing because I am still processing what that means, what it looks like in the journey that I've been on for a year and what that's looked like for my marriage and what that's looked like for me as a mother. And I'm actually, and I'm going to pose this question to you too, because listeners, so how old is your podcast now?
Oof, I think we're like 2 months, maybe 3 months into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here I am 1 year, and that's not my podcast. I think the podcast started in August. I think Revitalized Womanhood started in July. The podcast started in August. My sisterhood started in October, so there's different little mile markers. But however, so for a year in, and I'm finally like to the point where I'm like, do I even want to continue the podcast? What did I say to you when you started your podcast? I said, what is the end goal here for you? Like, why even have a podcast? What is the end goal? So now, having started it, after me asking you the hard questions to look into yourself, having started it, how are you feeling? How are you feeling in this 2 to 3 months? Do you feel like,
oh my gosh,
it's still too new to know, or?
Well, it really is a labor of love. It really is, because I'm not monetized yet, which I know sounds so superficial, but like,
No,
that's how we pay our bills.
It's not
monetized yet. And it takes so much freaking work, and it's a lot harder to get people to buy into long form content or more serious content, especially where a lot of my things are satire or like sketch comedy, so it's really hard to convert my audience into that. So it's been really frustrating, but then I will get messages on my like YouTube, or I'll get a DM that's like, hey, I've been struggling with an eating disorder and I found your content online and it really helped me to feel like there's other people in this, or I have a really weird relationship with my mom and that episode you did with your mom really made me feel better and feel like we can get past a really awkward spot. So getting feedback like that has made it like, oh my gosh, people are listening and it's worth something and it's helping people. So I mean, it's kind of shitty to say, because if I didn't have good feedback, I would still probably be a little bit annoyed. But knowing that I'm helping people is a really, really impactful, positive, and it's very encouraging for the podcast, for sure.
Yeah, because it's like you said, it's a labor of love. It's kind of like having kids. Yeah. It's you put into it, you put into it, and you don't expect anything out. You don't expect anything from it. But when you get a little bit of something from it, you're like, okay,
yeah.
I can keep going.
It's like relief.
Yeah.
I can keep going. Okay. Yeah.
That'll keep me going through the next 6 days. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. That will keep me going for 6 more days. And then hopefully I'll get another one at the end of that 6 days.
Is that kind of similar to your experience with Revitalized Womanhood?
Well, so mine, it's different because I don't need it to be monetized. I actually went into it, I went into it wanting to
you were like
ad-free. I wanted it to never be gunked up with that because I don't need it. But I also am in a place in my life where luckily I don't have to have that. It is actually a labor of love. Rick teases me that I'm that this is a hobby. It's not a business, it's a hobby, because it's costing us money. And I mean, obviously it's a business, so of course I want it to make money, but my end goal, and I've had to revisit this, who am I doing this for? What am I doing this for? All just within a year, I've gone all sorts of different ways. I've expanded my own growth so many different ways that it's like, I'm finally to the point now where I'm like, what is the point of this? Again, I'm back to asking again, because I ask it a lot. When I hit a hurdle or when I hit something, I think, what's the point? What am I doing this for? Right? Who am I trying to do this for? Right?
Right.
And so that's what I'm like, we just booked our flights for Paris. We leave August 5th, so we get home from Alaska, and then we're only home for a week, and then we go to Europe for 3 months. We're starting to travel again. So it's like, that's going to be hard. Just being here.
Yeah.
And this is in one house. We have not moved, okay? So this is in one house. And just being here recording podcast episodes with guests is one thing. It's so hard, right? And we're going to be traveling, changing locations every 3 days.
In Europe. That's crazy.
Every 3 days. And then from Europe, going to Australia or New Zealand or wherever we go or whatever, right? How's the Wi-Fi?
Right.
How's the this? How's the, right? And it's like, to what end? Okay, so the podcast for me was a tool to get the reach for women to be in my community. I want women in my community. That's where I want them. I want this community to grow and have each other and be able to feed itself. So for me, the podcast is just trying to get them and let them know who I am. Like, kind of let them know this is Gina, introduce myself, whatever. But other than that, it's kind of like, meh. Is it really doing that? You know what I mean? Is it really doing that?
Yeah.
Where's the market research? I want to know how many people just joined the sisterhood because of the podcast. None so far. None.
How are they finding out about it?
2 maybe. Actually, I take that back. Maybe 2. Right? I'm sure that they joined because they heard my podcast and were like, oh, okay, I can get on board with this lady. She's not like totally out there away from what I'm thinking, right? But so that's the question. I just keep coming back to, what's the point? Who am I doing this for? What's my end game? And I think if you keep asking yourself those same questions in life, in your marriage, as a woman, I think if you can keep yourself in check with answering those truly, honestly to yourself, you will be in a good place. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I really like what your, it's like body, bonds, biz. What's the other one?
Beliefs.
That's why I really like how you divide up those sections of your core 4, because I really do think that keeps you honest of like, this is what I want, this is what I believe in, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And then you can evaluate everything in your life. Like, is it getting me closer to that goal? Is it getting me closer to what I want or the life I want to be living? I think it's really cool how you've done that. Thanks, Ty.
You're welcome. Well, I hope it's feeding through into you, right? And
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, all right. I didn't want to just go straight into all of these questions, because this is all about like Tyler Benderr, newly engaged, and what it looks like as far as marriage. And we can get back into this because that's what I want to talk about with my listeners. But do you feel like, before I get any further, here's this one's going to be
the gotcha interview?
Yeah, this is the gotcha, okay? Here we go.
Okay.
So you have now started doing a gentle parenting for your boyfriend. Skits.
Yeah.
So for me, and because I know that you are my strong niece and I will always tell you to do what you feel good with and do what makes you happy, do you see my point when I say, do you feel like that is a form of emasculating of society at war with masculinity?
Oh, that's a great question. I get comments like that a lot. I get a lot of comments like that, like saying, if my girlfriend talked to this, I wouldn't talk to me like this, I wouldn't allow it. But
yeah, which I know you're joking. I know this isn't your relationship. I know you come from a strong, your dad is a strong male figure, masculine, right? Like, I know what you come from. So I'm not scared to say this to you, but I'm asking if this is a trend for this new generation. Whereas I see the trend also from my generation of moms making fun of like being a mom, that they're so put upon because their kids are such tiny terrorists and they get nothing back from this. Like, motherhood is so hard, and but it's satirical, right? They're joking, ha ha
Yeah.
ha, like, ha ha, I'm looking over this stairwell and I'd rather throw myself to my death than do another load of laundry, right? And
Yeah,
for
like, girl,
me,
if that's
I'm
you, you
like,
got a problem.
yeah, like, this is just screaming for help me's. But so for me, I'm like, I can't even follow these. I've started my own social
Right.
experiment on my Instagram.
Uh-huh.
And so I've got my pure imperfection that's who knows
Uh-huh.
what going on over there, right? It's an audience. It's just,
Right.
you know. And I've got Revitalized Womanhood, who I'm like, I want to keep this pure. I want to keep this people who actually enjoy my content, have the same beliefs as me, whatever. So when these ones start to come into this, I'm like, I cannot watch this and laugh at this, because for me as a coach in this community, I look at that as a cry for help, right? Like,
Right.
lady, you shouldn't be contemplating throwing yourself over the stairs and going, ha ha ha, ha, you know? Like,
Oh my gosh, those make me really sad. Those two,
So-
those are
so that's when you started doing the gentle parenting your boyfriend. I can see how that's kind of an attack
Yeah.
on masculinity.
No, I think that's a really, really good question. And I'm sure anybody who's watched my content on gentle parenting your boyfriend, for context, it's like the skit where, like, I don't know if you know moms that gentle parent their kids are like,
Oh, yeah.
do you want this or this? Do you want, yeah, it's just like a really weird way of, not weird, but it's a really, I don't know, millennial way of parenting where you're really just like everybody gets a participation trophy kind of a thing. Like, it's been criticized
Yeah.
for stuff like that. And so I thought, how funny is it that I know so many women with the shittiest boyfriends alive that this is how they talk to them? Like, I know so many people, and Mitchell helped me come up with this because we both were like, how many people do we know that the boyfriend is like totally like we were saying, like unwilling to accept criticism, so you have to walk on eggshells and be like, hi, would you be willing to do this? And so where I'm coming from is, I think if your significant other is so scared of you and you're such a piece of shit that she has to gentle parent you, you absolutely should have your masculinity attacked, because you don't deserve it. I think it's a great thing to be a man. It's a great thing to be masculine. It's a great thing to be feminine. But if you're an asshole, I think you should be questioned. You should be attacked. I think that's why satire has always been such like a powerful tool throughout all of history, is because when comedians or writers or whatever see something that's wrong in the world, we're the first ones to pick up on it and kind of attack it, and then it really gets you thinking. Like, that's my skit on Almond Moms went crazy because people all of a sudden went, oh my god, my mom does that, or I do that. Do I have an eating disorder, or is something wrong with my mom? Now it's happening with gentle parenting. Like, this is how I speak to my boyfriend. Is he abusive, or am I over controlling? Is this relationship dynamic bad? So it makes me really actually interested in the conversation that we're starting by these skits. But
I love
that's
it.
kind of my
That
take
was
on it.
An awesome answer. I love you for it. You nailed it. You nailed it, because you're pointing out that this is me making fun of you. And if you identify as this, you need to get your shit checked.
I'm glad you agree.
Well, I do.
Yeah, I
'cause
definitely
know
don't
you
want.
are. So I can call you out on it, because I know that's not. It's like
Yeah.
that comment you had on one of your skits that was making fun of Utah women, and I thought it was
Oh,
so
I know what one.
funny. Oh my gosh, I was dying. And you got so many comments that were just like, they were just not getting it. Like, they just thought that you were being you were criticizing rather than just like making fun of a truth.
Like parody. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, she knows. She's from Utah, okay? If you're coming at these Utah moms and you're from New York making fun of Utah moms, like, step back, okay? You
That's
don't
kinda
know.
weird, yeah.
You're not part of this culture, but when you've been in it, when you've lived it, it's like any race. It's like you don't get to make fun of a race unless you're that race and you know, because you've been, right? It's like, you know, you've lived through it. You've gone through the ups and downs of going through this. So guess what? Yeah, I've earned my right to make fun of this. And I still have
Absolutely.
so many people like that. It pops up in my likes. I'm like, this is annoying. I'm never going to comment on your stuff again because it's like a constant thing that pops up in my feed.
Oh my gosh. So you know what's funny? On TikTok, when I post this kind of stuff, people are just kind of like, haha, funny. But if I post it on Instagram, it turns into like a political debate. It turns into some sort of like, it just gets so heated in the comments that sometimes I just can't check Instagram comments because people are like so like divisive about it. I'm like, I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny. I just thought it was funny.
I love you.
Oh.
That's perfect. I love it. All right, here we go. So, have you ever felt, this is a good question because I 1000% know that every woman on the planet, unless you're lying to yourself, has done this. I think it's just a natural female trait.
Uh-huh.
And yes, maybe we're getting better at it, and maybe some people are definitely better at it, but have you ever felt like you've betrayed your beliefs on behalf of your significant other, your fiance?
Oh, that's such a good
I
question.
mean, even just moving to Denver, you had
That's
that.
exactly what I was gonna
Yeah.
say because I've said this so many times. I moved to a new state where I knew nobody, where I had no reason to be here, where I had no sort of like I wasn't married to this man. I did all that. And if any of my friends came to me saying that they were going to do that, I would tell them they were the dumbest bitch alive. So I spent so much time being like, Tyler, what are you doing? Or the first month we moved here, it sucked when we moved here. It sucked so bad. Our apartment, we live in a studio apartment and it's so small and there's not even walls in it. Like we live in the shittiest apartment in the shittiest part of town where the 7-Eleven gets robbed every day and doesn't even have doors. It's just tarps because we live in that bad of an area, let me tell you. So when it was bad when we moved here because we're dealing with all of those issues, and anytime anything went wrong, I would be like, I can't believe I did this for you. I feel like this is not, I would have never told any of my friends to do this. This is really against my values as somebody who's like more progressive. I hate myself. I'm so mad at myself. But so that is definitely one time I felt like I betrayed myself for a man, which is like so against my values, but I guess love makes you do stupid things. Like if you're anybody listening to this, that's not advice to do that. That's advice to really not do that. I don't even have a good way to tie that up in a nice bow. I don't even know what to say. I'm just like, don't do that. That's a mistake. I'm glad I made the mistake because it worked out for me, but it probably doesn't work out for most people. So probably don't do that.
Well, because it takes us back. I'll tie it up with a nice bow for you. It takes us back to communicating, maturity, and you've got someone that's a safe place to land. I love it. This is going to sound so ignorant, but it's Brene Brown, right? That's her name, right? Brene Brown?
Oh, yeah, I've heard of her. Yeah.
Anyway, she just did a reel that went, I'm sure, viral because all her stuff does. And it was, marriage is not 50-50. So I'm not even talking marriage, okay? If a partnership, if you're in a relationship, if you're living with someone, okay? It is not 50-50. That's such a lie. That's such bullcrap. Because it is, today I only can give 20%. I had the worst day. Everybody's screaming at me at work. Like my boss is mad at me, right? The kids have been yelling, fighting, whatever you've got going on. And today I only have 20% to give. So you have got to make up that 80%, right? It's not 50-50. Or on days where you're home and you're like, it's been such a good day. I got my workout in. I made an amazing reel. I'm getting good feedback. I've got 90% to give. You only have to give 10% today. You know what I mean? It's not a 50-50.
That's a really good way to put it.
So, I loved it. It resonated so much more than this phony baloney 50-50 crap because it is never. What relationship is ever honestly, truly 50-50?
Wow. Yeah, no, that's honestly so eye-opening. That's a great
So for
quote.
Mitchell to be able to catch you in those moments where he's like, I got you, right? I feel you. I
Yeah.
feel you being upset and stressed. And, you know, even if you're actually not communicating it well by blaming him for doing it.
Yeah, that's a me problem.
No, but that's him. That's him giving you 80% when you only have 20. And I love that.
He's amazing. And in those months, we ate every donut on the Voodoo Donuts menu because that's the best way to cheer me up.
Yep. Yes,
He's
please.
great. He's a great supporter.
Oh, you are my child. All right. Goals in life. Questions that you should be asking your significant other before you've made the commitment in marriage. Where do we see ourselves in 5 years? Where do we see ourselves in 15 years? Where do we see ourselves in 30 years, right? Do these line up? I mean, obviously, you're not going to be like, yes, by this time I'm going to be here. By this time I'm going to be here. Some people are. Some people work that way. Great. I would have never been able to tell you that there would be a recession and we would lose everything we had, right? Go with the flow. But have you had these conversations? Are these the conversations that you guys have with each other?
Yes. I was actually talking to one of my girlfriends. Literally, one of my only friends in Denver is this amazing lady from New York who's like 47, and we just talk about life. She's so cool. We were
Oh, she's
talking, and we
so
were like, you know what?
old. Is that what you think? You're like, she's so old.
No, she just always like takes me to a bar or something and is like, this feels weird. She's
Like
"Feels
you're her
weird to go to
daughter that
mom."
she's got to bring in from the car so she's not leaving you with windows cracked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's literally it. So it's not that she's so old, it's just that she's like, I feel like a friend pedophile. That's what she said to me. Okay. But anyway, we were talking about marriage and we were like, you know what? It's like kind of like three-sided. I feel like marriage is obviously like a romantic relationship. I think it's also a friendship, and I think it's a business relationship, like a business partnership. I think you can probably have a pretty decent marriage with two of those things, but I think if you have all three fulfilled, you've got a really, really good marriage. And if you have an opportunity to get that happening for you, make it freaking happen. So for me, okay, this is so bad. I met Mitchell on a dating app, and when I went on dating apps, I didn't even want to talk to guys that didn't have good jobs. This is so shitty. Or like good careers lined up. Like I was just I knew that he was gonna have a good job.
Why would you? Why would you? I mean, that's the point. That's the whole point, isn't it? To have an app now with your generation, we had to weed through these guys. We had to listen to them like pretend like they were things face to face because we didn't have the app to be like, no, thank you. No, at least you
Yeah,
get
and then
that
you can prove it later. You can do
right,
some
yeah,
research
like
and figure out if they're
you
lying.
have
Yeah.
one life. Why not pick the person? Rick's dad used to say to him, guess what? You can have a so-and-so with blonde hair. You can have a so-and-so with brown hair. You could have the same woman and have her with blonde hair, brown hair, blue eyes, green eyes, likes traveling, you can have that woman. She is out there. Why do people not understand this? So go ahead.
Especially with dating
On the
apps, because
dating
that
app.
pool is pretty freaking nice. So anyway, I knew I wanted somebody who had good goals, who had a really like stable life, who was gonna have a career that would be stable for us and whatever we did, because I have so many things that I want to do, and we really have similar goals. I don't want somebody who's gonna be a DJ, no offense, because I want to own a house. Oh.
That's awesome.
So,
okay,
yeah.
but you guys, that's my whole thing is I feel bad for the ladies like that get into something and they feel like they've been lied to because all of a sudden here they are, they've put in 5 years with this person and they decide, oh, actually I don't want that. Or like I said before with some man who feels like he's been lied to because he marries this woman thinking she's going to be a stay-at-home wife and mother to his kids. And actually she's like, well, actually I really want to work. well, actually, I really want it right. These are
Oh
like,
my gosh, yeah.
you have to know what your deal breakers are. You have to know what your deal breakers are so that, I mean, you really have to sit down. It's because you don't want to be at that first date and be like, okay, how many kids do you want? Okay, what religion do you want to raise them? Okay, what do you want to, right? That's obviously not what I'm saying. First date, you're not going to be like 20 question Marie, but you have to
Right.
be able
But it
to
has to happen.
be your own advocate, right? You are the only person that's going to look out for you. And in that beginning stage of when you're trying to find this perfect match for you or the best match for you or ideal match for you, who's going to be looking out for you? Who's going to be asking those questions? If you're not asking for yourself, no one else is going to do it for you.
This is one thing, I'm not a relationship expert, but this is something I always tell my girlfriends who are struggling. I'm like, don't be the cool girl. Don't be the cool girl. The cool girl always gets screwed over every single time. This is the girl, I feel like cool girl is the girl who wants to just be exactly what she thinks the guy she likes wants. So, like, let's say this guy is really outdoorsy and wants to take you skateboarding, and he loves dogs and he loves sports. And so you're like, oh my God, I love that. Like, I love hiking. And you pretend you like hiking and you're too afraid. And you're like, oh yeah, I would never be strict. Like, I literally don't even like, I'm not crazy. You can do whatever you want. And that girl gets walked all over every single time. So, I mean, a little unrelated, but I do think that's worth noting is like, girl, do not be the cool girl. Do not be the cool girl because he'll just find somebody who actually likes being outdoorsy and isn't lying and probably cheat on you with her. So you just can't be the cool girl and you have to stand up for yourself and say, like, this is who I am. This is what I want. And if you don't want that, then go find somebody who does because seriously, even if they'll know if you're faking and it'll F you over every single time that I've seen.
Well, because I think that's my biggest goal with this interview with you, and hopefully anybody listening that's in your same season, age category, whatever. I've got her in my community, right? And it's like, this is your chance. This is your opportunity to know you before you have to figure out how to be you with someone else, right? Because if I know that I love hiking, I love it. It makes me so happy. If I know that that's going to just bring me joy every day, but then I marry someone who is not like physical activity or something like that, right? I know that that's not going to make me happy. If I know I need to be outside every day, but I'm with someone who does not like being outside or someone who has severe allergies or, right? That's obviously not someone I need. So if you can figure out that the most important relationship that you have is you with yourself first, then you will be successful in anything else you do.
Yeah, I mean, that's another reason I'm super grateful that we lived with each other for a minute and spent every waking second together in this teeny tiny studio is because we really got to like know every single thing about each other. We got to experience each other evolving because this was like my first time living in a new state. So I really have changed a lot and it's been cool to watch him change a lot. And we've been going through like career change, state change, living situation change, all these things. And so to see how each of us deal with change and each of us deal with new world experiences that we're going through together is really interesting. And it's been really fun to watch. Like we've even like gotten really more aligned on things we believe in, like political beliefs. Now we're like a lot similar at that. And so you should definitely make sure you know your person and experience things like that before you get married. And now I know that. Lesson learned.
That'd be an interesting dinner conversation. Oh, what? You're a Democrat? Well, I'm a Republican. This is going to be a great life together.
That would be horrible. People say that is like, oh, the craziest thing for us just happened because we went out with these people that were really crazy and we both looked at each other and we're like, okay, we're not that, right? And then we had the discussion, and it was really interesting, actually. Like, we met enough crazy people to be like, oh my gosh, okay, this is where we stand together. We're aligned on that. Great.
Yeah, let's get together and have a little conversation. Well, that brings me right into my last question for this is how do you make time for each other? No phones, no distractions, because you are the epitome of the generation of phones and distractions.
Yeah, we're so Gen
So,
Z. We love
yeah,
being on our
like
phones.
how do you and do you specifically say, this is our time? No phones, no distractions. This is what we need to be doing to keep cultivating this kind of level of communication and maturity together.
Oh my gosh, we are like honestly so bad at that. Like we're the iPad baby generation. Like the like always has to be on a screen. Always like I get uncomfortable if there's not sounds while I'm alone in that apartment. Like both of us are that way. So it is an uphill battle for us to do literally anything without checking because we're not outdoorsy. So it's not like, ooh, let's go biking and put our phones away. Like there's really, it's so hard. So even when we're out to dinner, if we're like waiting for food to come in and we're like trying to have a conversation and I go like this, I'm like, oh crap. So it's hard for us. It's like something we're still dealing with. But the best thing we can do is just set up activities that are really active and then keep each other accountable to be like, girl, you said that you spent 10 hours on your phone today. You better get off that shit. We were at dinner. There's nothing you haven't seen. Or I'm like, Mitchell, you have seen every meme on the internet. You need to get out of there. So, I mean, we're not good at it. And that's something that we really have to be hard on each other about because that is seriously something that's so scary to our generation is like how bad screen time is. Like, I'll be so honest, my screen time is 10 hours a day because I work on my phone and I play on my phone. It's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, that's my challenge for you. Going forward, my challenge for you is to set up these kinds of habits now so that they're already just in place. You know what I mean? So for me and Rick, it took, we only just started it 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Because I don't think it's ever been as prevalent for him to see it with me because even if I was working, even if I was cleaning the condos, even if I was whatever, I would always be home. And once I was home. I'm wife, I'm mom, right? But having my own business, having my own small business and growing my own business and having it have so many different components to it, he was home. He was the one doing those things and I was the one having to do things. So it was very odd for him. It was like a full-on role reversal, right? So we had to make a commitment to, like all the women in my community, all my friends, everyone knows my phone is off at 6. Our phones go off at 6. We do not use them. They go in another room in case someone needs to call. It's an emergency. You can't even have them near you, right? Same with like going to dinner.
Yeah.
Why does your phone even need to be anywhere near the table? It doesn't. Put it in your purse, put it in your jacket pocket. Does not need to be, because you do. Your reflex is to grab.
Yeah.
We are constantly needing to be entertained. None of us can hold a conversation with each other. It's like start to flex that muscle of having conversations, looking people in the eye. Like, if that's my advice for you, start now, going forward, make it a commitment
I think
to
the phone box
make
is a great
him a priority.
idea.
Yeah, like make each other the priority. Like everything that's going on that, like who cares?
So stupid. It's so bad.
At the end of the day, who matters, right? And you'll see when kids start getting involved. But this is like your golden time where it's just the two of you. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Oh. I think the rest of us are like, oh, to take a nap. The other day, I'm like, man, I'd love to take some NyQuil. That just would be amazing. I don't think I've slept more than 4 hours in a night for 11 years. Like, you know,
that's a little scary.
Yeah, it's your golden time. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, the phone box is great. It's actually so disgusting how addicted I am to my phone. Like my friend Shannon, who's also a creator and a podcaster, we went out to lunch and we did like a goal setting meeting, and we were both like, my goal is to just not touch my phone for the first hour of the morning. And how like gross and dystopian is that's our goal for the morning? I'm like, oh, I gotta stop. So yeah, it's an interesting, sad reality for our generation. And
It's,
we're
they're
gonna have to
told.
buy apps to lock us out of our
Buy
apps
apps to
because
lock you out. Oh
we're
my
gonna have
God.
to buy
That
an
was like
app
a
to lock me
perfect
out of my app.
Definition of your generation is get an app to do this for me, to create better habits for
lock me out of
myself. I
my
need
app.
my phone to do it for me.
Yeah,
I'm done.
we're
I'm
both
out.
buying it to shut us out from that. We're only allowed to be on our phone from 9 to 5 so we can hustle our things, and then the app will like shut it down and lock it. And I'm like embarrassed to say that, but I had to be real for you guys.
No, that's it. You're coming. You need to sign up for the Revitalized Sisterhood. You and her both get in here. We will set you straight.
Yeah, I need that. Or like a hobby. We need hobbies too. That was also on our monthly list. We're gonna get hobbies.
Okay, so tell me what it is you want most. What is it your hope that people get from your podcast? What is it that if your
That's really
message
interesting.
could come across as this is exactly what I wanted you to get from this, what is that?
Oh my gosh. I think my advice would be to not do what I'm doing. Because I really think I've seen way too many mistakes. I've seen way too I don't think I'm a good example for this behavior. I really don't. Like, I'm honestly kind of shocked that I'm doing this because I would tell anyone else not to do this. So I would say if you're making this decision, just make sure that you feel like this person is somebody that you can go to the highs of the highs with and to the lows of the lows with. If you're working on your marriage, I would ask you to ask yourself, is this a good romantic partnership, friendship, and business relationship? And just, spend some time asking yourself those really hard questions and decide if you're ready or not. And then all you can do is make it the right decision every single day after that.
Yeah, own up to your accountability of your commitment to the decision you made.
Yeah, that's actually something really interesting my boss told me. He was like, it doesn't matter if you're making the right decision or the wrong decision, just commit to making it the right decision after you make that decision. Kind of wordy, but yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So what's next for the Almond Mom pod? What's next for the Almond Mom podcast? Where are you going with that?
You know what? It's been a really good learning lesson. Please follow, subscribe, listen. Please, please, please. It's been a really good lesson because I did a really bad job with the first couple episodes, and I got feedback that it sucked. And I pivoted, and now I feel like I'm really excited for the new direction that it's going in because I realized it was messy. It didn't really have a specific subject matter. I was literally just interviewing people about themselves, which is not interesting. I had on kind of weird and random guests, but the past couple episodes I've gotten into a groove and I know what we're doing. It's about health and wellness and nothing else. I will not be interviewing about yourself. We're only going to talk about health and wellness topics. We're doing an episode on carcinogenics. We're doing an episode carcinogens. We're doing an episode on Biggest Loser. We're doing an episode on just all these niche health and wellness topics, and we're really interested to debunk them or see if they're good or bad. So please subscribe because it'll get really good. We're excited.
Good. I'm excited. Well, I'm here for it. You know I'm here for it. I'm along
Thank you.
for
We
the
need to have you
ride.
on.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and I'm going back to Utah and I'm having my mom do some crazy episodes because she's such a funny guest.
She's so funny. What are you going to do? I don't know. You don't want to spoiler alert it here. We can wait till we're done recording. Unless you want to drop a little bit of teaser, but
I think it will be funny because I'm going to go order the most unhealthy fast food from 10 different places and make her eat them.
she's going to love that. She's going to love hate
She's
that.
going to love that.
She's going to love hate that. She wants to eat that food. She wants to eat that food.
I called her and told her and she was like, what?
Yeah, she wants to eat that food. She wants it. And you know what's even so much more sick about her? She's such a sicko. She will figure out that after she's eaten this food and enjoyed it and loved every minute of it, she's going to get all weird about how she's got to make sure she works it off and makes it work for her. So she's going to get all like, oh, watch me crush this. I'm going to do this and I'm going to burn this doing this by this workout and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, pass me a donut.
And that's why she's such a great guest.
Pass me a donut.
Oh my gosh, I wish you were like in the contiguous United States, because this episode would be so fun with you also.
Just tune me in. We'll have an episode of the almond mom versus the anti-almond mom.
Yeah. It'll be so fun. Yes, so
She
definitely
calls me skinny fat.
go follow.
She calls me skinny fat. That is my name. That's the definition of who I am to her. Her sister that's
You know what?
skinny
Me
fat.
too, though.
Just give me all the Pop-Tarts. I eat like a 12-year-old boy.
She does say that, and it's just because the rest of us are jealous. We're really
it's
jealous.
Yeah, I just have to make sure I just have a baby at the right time. If I start gaining too much weight, I just get pregnant and have a baby, and then I can nurse him for the next 2 years.
Wow, I didn't know that was a hack. I'll like write that one down.
Hack. Almond mom hack. Anti-almond mom hack. Number 1.
Just get pregnant.
Just get pregnant. That 50 pounds will fly off as soon as you start nursing.
That's so great.
Okay, girl. I love you. I love your face. I wish I
Love
could
you.
give
Thanks
a
for
hug.
having me on.
Thanks for being on. So where do we need to see you before I totally just end this, wrap this up? Where do you want everyone to come follow you?
Go follow the Almond Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and then you can find the full podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And then my personal handles are just Tyler Benderr. So go check it out.
Thanks, girl.
Thanks, girl. Bye.